I'm Dan English. I'm our council president, and I have the honor to fill in for Mayor Woody tonight. He just got sworn in as our mayor, and then he got to take off on a well-deserved family trip and vacation for the next 2 times. So I'm very happy to be doing the duties and the honors tonight. Is Pastor Dan from Trinity Lutheran here? Not here. Well, I'm going to, let's see, what is for?
First, do the roll call.
Oh, let's do the roll call first, and then I will lead the invocation. And I like a roll call.
Wood,
Here.
Gukin,
Yeah.
Evans,
Here.
Miller.
Here.
And would you stand and join me for the invocation? Our Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us and all of the gifts that you give to us, this beautiful city and lots of caring people that come together in different ways to really make things work. And we have the fortune to sit up here and kind of be under the spotlight, but we know that there are so many people in our city, from volunteers to different staff members and lots of community organizations and church fellowships that help make our city the place it is. So we just ask your blessing on all of our efforts and guide what we do tonight, and give us wisdom and just help us pick the path that you think is best for us and for our city. In Jesus' name, amen. And Kiki, would you lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the first thing that I'll get to do, actually we have a couple of proclamations and, some very good proclamations. So the first one I will be reading is the fitting for the Constitution. So, whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, now therefore I, Dan English, Council President, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, do hereby proclaim the week of 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. And I ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution that they had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that those lost rights. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the great seal of Coeur d'Alene to be affixed to this, the 17th day of September 2024. And I don't think there's anybody from that group here tonight, but we will be getting it to them. And the next proclamation, and I do think we have somebody here, whereas on July 4th, 2026, our nation will commemorate the semi-quintennial anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and whereas the journey towards this historic milestone is an opportunity to reflect on our nation's past, honor the contributions of all Americans, and look ahead to the future generations who will carry forward the ideals of democracy and individual liberty that make the United States a unique nation in the world community. And whereas the great state of Idaho was founded by the Revolutionary War generation and their children pressing west into territory organized by the Northwest Ordinance into the Northwest Territory, which was land ceded by Britain to the United States by the Treaty of Paris of 1783. And whereas the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, is a non-political women's service organization established in 1890 whose members are literally descended from patriots of the American Revolution, and whereas the President General's leadership, all daughters are spending the next 3 years celebrating the Stars and Stripes forever and rejoicing in our DAR ties of service and friendship by celebrating our nation's rich history and diversity, promoting belonging through membership and dedicated to God, home, and country, and by completing projects in the unique, local, and impactful ways. And whereas from the 251st anniversary of the Boston Tea Party in 2023 until the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 2033, daughters are celebrate our nation's rich history and diversity of experience by honoring all men and women who achieved American independence. Those patriots, believing in the noble cause of liberty, fought valiantly to establish a great nation. And now, therefore, I, Dan English, City of Coeur d'Alene Council President, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, do hereby proclaim September 21st, 2024 as Daughters of the American Revolutionary Day. In the City of Coeur d'Alene, in witness of, have set my hand and caused the Great Seal of the City of Coeur d'Alene to be affixed this 17th day of September 2024. And do we have somebody to accept? Great.
So thank you, Councilman English and other council members. And this proclamation underscores the city's commitment to celebrating our nation's rich history, and the proclamation that you made prior to the one for the Daughters of the American Revolution. As was mentioned, the next few years will be, America will be preparing to celebrate our semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And the Daughters of the American Revolution are celebrating in several ways throughout the United States. And one of the ways, and I also want to thank you and thank Parks Director Bill Greenwood, the Daughters placed a beautiful stone monument on Independence Point with a plaque commemorating our Revolutionary War patriots. And the unveiling of that will be this Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And Christy will be there, and I would like to invite the rest of you there. And I have some invitations to, I'll just leave them in the back. And the man who prepared the bronze plaque is from Cincinnati, and he just happened to be out here in Coeur d'Alene this week, and he wanted to know if the rock had been installed yet. And we told him, yes. It's there, but it's not unveiled yet. But anyway, he got to see it, and he sent an email to us, and it said, and mind you, he prepares thousands of commemorative plaques for different organizations across the country, and hundreds every year for the Daughters of the American Revolution. And he wrote, just wanted to let you know that I had the chance to check out the DAR America 250 plaque at Coeur d'Alene's Independence Point, and it looks fantastic. definitely one of the best presentations as well as one of the most beautiful settings in the country. So I'm very thankful to Bill Greenwood for helping us find the location and to locate it on Independence Point. How appropriate, because Independence Point was named and designated with that name in 1976, shortly after Playland Pier was demolished. And that was the bicentennial year. So this Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, there'll just be a quick half-hour celebration. We will have some live five-piece brass music, and the Boy Scouts posting colors, and there'll be other dignitaries from the state there. So again, thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have a presentation by the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department of a life-saving award. And who would like to come forward and do that?
Easy. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's an honor to be here tonight to be able to present this incredible award in front of you and to everyone that is here. With me, I have Captain Jake Beaker, Station 1, Ladder 1 Green Shift Captain, who would like to read this award and then present it to the gentleman who is here tonight to receive it.
Great.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about the situation that happened in July. It's an honor for me to be able to present this on behalf of the fire department, and it is a life-saving award recognizing Dave Powell for outstanding performance and heroic life-saving actions. This occurred on July 6th, 2024. Ladder 1 and Medic 31 were dispatched for a Delta drowning near the intersection of Park Drive and West Lakeshore Avenue. Upon our arrival, we found a conscious, breathing 18-year-old male who reportedly had been floating face down in the water for approximately 30 seconds. When speaking with friends of the patient, they pointed to a man who had went out into the lake and grabbed the patient out of the water and brought him safely to the beach, saving his life. Mr. Powell reported that his wife pointed out the young man struggling to swim and bobbing up and down in the water. He immediately grabbed a flotation device and went out to help. By the time he reached the young man had been floating face down in the water for about 30 seconds. It's my opinion, had Mr. Powell not acted, the young man may have experienced cardiac arrest and may have died. So on behalf of the fire department and the citizens of the city, I'd like to recognize Dave Powell for his actions.
Also, real quick, the young man that Mr. Powell saved is also here with us tonight. His name is Lawrence.
Well, I would just like to say that, we would like to think that this kind of a thing, doesn't happen all that often, but actually with some frequency, we've given out these awards, and I'm sure they aren't the only times that, something like that happens. A lot of them don't get caught doing that. They're just, our people are out doing their job, and frankly, for the citizens who are willing to, do that little bit of extra training, be willing to kind of take a risk to do something when maybe it's not comfortable and they're not sure, I don't know if I can do it perfectly. Well, just do it. And that's what happened. And so, again, I acknowledge all of you and to our first responders. Thank you. And let them get a few pictures in. And our next section is actually public comments, and I appreciate that the public has taken it kind of easy on the interim mayor because nobody signed up for public comments, but I guess going once, going toward, okay, well, okay. Announcements, city council.
I have one, and I have to go down there to do it.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Maybe, that's what.
As I awkwardly make my way. Well, hello, council and members of the public. The reason I'm here is to honor our contractor for our TV service, which we call TV service, but it's really digital whatever, Jeff Crow. This is his last night manning the booth, running our presentation on Facebook and I guess YouTube, and if there's TV still out there, he does that too. Jeff, could you come down here? You might know Jeff if you're watching at home or playing along here in the audience. Jeff is the voice of God. He's the one who tells you to put out your cigarettes and remove your hats before the meetings. And we just thought we would honor Jeff with some special toys here. Come over. Come on. Come on. They made me do this.
Got.
There's nobody in the booth.
There's nobody. Which camera are we on?
We are on,
That one. Okay, here we go. And we're staying on that one until he's back up there. Does a lot of great stuff for this. And if you don't know, and Woody and I have volunteered in the booth. Woody does it a lot.
Yeah.
This guy is great. I mean, I can tell you because I was in theater and I did technical theater. And you're the kind of guy we want in the theater because he's very meticulous, very organized, has all his stuff down. He even winds the cables a certain way. I mean, and I don't know if that's a requirement for his replacement or not. It better be. But it's like this is the kind of person you want running that kind of technical stuff because if you've ever seen the way it's not supposed to run, it can be a total mess. And you just do such a super job. You've been here 18 years according to this thing that I'm supposed to read that I'm not reading. You've done countless amazing pieces for the city, award-winning the Osprey Rescue piece. You've only missed one council meeting. Is that true?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Anyway, well, so we sent Joanne up to Adam and Eve to get you this special gift. No, this is for you in honor of your service, and I hope you appreciate it. And we really want to thank you and wish you and Sue the best for whatever comes up. And I hope you didn't leave us stranded.
I hope so.
You set the bar high.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well done.
And now I think this is the time when Woody would normally make a motion for the consent calendar, but,
I'll be in a motion.
okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, I would move to approve the consent calendar as presented, including Resolution 22073.
Second.
A motion and a second.
One quick point of clarification, resolution number 24073. Did you say 22?
I will say it again, just to be clear, 24073. I apologize if I made an error.
And there we go. So, roll call.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin,
Yep.
And the motion carries. Thank you. Other business. Mr. Administrator, I assume, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. We bring before you tonight maybe the first one in the state of Idaho on a brand-new program to Idaho. Our legislature just passed it in their last session, and it became effective July 1st. It has a great acronym known as CPACE or CPACE. My goal tonight is to share the information in the background. It's been in the packet for you to consider this as a way to establish a brand-new program. We would have a public hearing on this on the 15th day of October at our council meeting. So the acronym stands for Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure Act. Again, it just became effective July 1st of this year. It took 2 years to run through our Idaho legislature, so they took a look at it over that period of time. This is a program that's been done in 31 other states, so it is time-tested. Mr. Randy Adams, city attorney, has done a phenomenal job of working through this. he allowed me to do this because I really like the number side of it and the benefits side of it. So we have tag teamed on this effort. City can entitle this. What it is a win-win, and I would go so far as to say another win in the fact that it protects our environment, can lower water usage. It's a win for the developer. The city gets some dollars out of it, and it helps programs and financing come together. So let me go off script and tell you, if we had a downtown historic building and there was tax credits for that building because of its historic nature, it probably would not be a building that's very energy efficient. That's a very expensive process to do those upgrades, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, do windows, do LED, and in so doing, this program would be a great partner for that tax credit funding. We believe we're in a pretty good sized town, but for large lenders, Coeur d'Alene wouldn't be a tier 1 or a tier 2 city in our size. Thus, we have greater risk because we don't have a metropolitan population. So investors like this because it is a great tool. Again, it can apply to owners of agricultural, commercial, industrial, multifamily. It can be used for ground up or renovations. So it's a very diverse financing tool. In a nutshell, the city gets involved because we have the ability to put a lien on property for not paying property taxes. That's probably the most significant role that we have in getting involved in this. We get to work with a number of different groups because in the event that a developer is going to improve the windows in a building, there's an outside third party that determines that those windows are better than what is required. Thus, they get energy efficiency and work through all of those concerns. Again, it's been done in a number of states. I would suggest to you that the program we're going to bring to you in a month has all the positives in it to protect the city because it's been done so many times, as well as really eliminates any significant amount of work for your city or for your city staff. So we were approached as the 6th and Sherman Marriott was coming into town. They have done this work in Colorado, and again, it just hit it just became available. So we've been working on getting something together, and we now have documents that we can continue to go forward. This thing is loaded with things that we must do. So again, it's a financing mechanism. Quickly, it's a financing mechanism that offers the developer owner a 30-year fixed rate commercial loan. That doesn't exist in any banks today on a 30-year fixed loan. It is a loan that has no due and payable in 5 years or has to be refinanced. And the third feature is that that loan is assumable. So if they want to go sell the property, this loan can stay in place. Thus the reason that the developer is very interested. So it's basically energy efficient ways and improvements to the building that they can finance in this mechanism. We are basically the lender's assessment. We get to assess the property in the event that they choose not to pay. We are not lending any money. We are not even going to collect the money. We're going to let the lender that did that collect those annual payments and let us know in the event that they go into default. In so doing, we are able to charge a upfront fee of $500, and we can charge up to a $50,000 fee based on the size of the loan that they get under this CPACE. So the legislature maxed that out. I wish they hadn't done that, but that is what they did. We get a little piece of the annual payments, but it won't add up to much. So we see an opportunity to partner. We see an opportunity to get better heating, cooling, air conditioning, get better windows into it, all of those ideas that will preserve this building, which is great for our community. It's great for our utilities that supply that information. Again, This is loaded with to-dos that have to get done. So there's gonna be all kinds of engineering behind this, all kinds of documentation that once we get it up and running, we only have about 7 or 8 things we have to do. We will bring those to you. It's already been done in other states. You've read all of these criteria. It goes on and on and on about the 7 and 8 to 12 things that we get to do. But we can guarantee you, we can bring that back, have the handbook ready, and share with you a program that's brand new to Idaho, but it's been done in other states. Again, it's our intent to move this forward. I would stand for any questions you might have.
Question? Christie?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. Well, I called Troy today because this just seemed like a win-win, and I wanted to make sure that I was on this, I was reading it correctly. So it does seem like a great program. The best part is we're really not that deeply involved. As you said, we're just there to assess it if things go wrong. Pretty attractive that they can actually sell their business and the loan's assumable. That's pretty amazing. So my only question, Troy, was, are we the first city in Idaho?
We have to be right up next to it because it's so new that the paperwork that we're working on and Randy's reviewing is just coming off their printers that would be acceptable based on the legislation that was approved because of all those criteria that you see in it.
Well, and sometimes we're critical of our legislators. We have to give them due when they get something right. And so this seems like a good program. We don't know how our local delegation voted, but overall, this is good. And so, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Kiki.
Thank you, Mr. Council President, Mayor Pro Tem. Long list
Not all
here.
of it.
Troy, thanks. It sounds like if this goes through tonight, you'll bring it back with more questions answered along with the handbook.
Correct.
And I guess it looks to me like there's limited risk here for the city at all. And we kind of participate only in the case of a default is where we kind of, but is there compensation for staff time other than this small amount? Should that occur? I'm just wondering what kind of burden we might be looking at if that occurs.
I would suggest the front end burden is all the work, but again, we're plowing ground that hasn't even been opened up, getting these documents. This is such a big number that I anticipate the ask for this CPACE loan on the Marriott at 6th and Sherman will be north of $10 million. So the good news there is that the $50,000 fee isn't equal to what we could charge if we didn't have a cap on it. So I would say that's the 50,000 is the dollar amount that this administrator's after to bring this to you. And that won't happen every year, but they do have a second bite at this program on Northwest Boulevard that we would like to encourage them to take advantage of since we have it in place, so.
Okay, so there'll be a little bit more of a financial analysis with the next report,
As far as the work that's involved,
the work and the projected staff burden.
I can give you the fact that the staff burden does not look to be anything once we get set up and
Okay.
have this in place. Because as long as they pay, just like every good loan, there's not a whole lot of work involved. Only in the event that they choose not to make that payment and we become the assessment on their property taxes. And that's pretty much a paperwork transaction.
That's the way I was kind of reading it. Thanks.
Good understanding.
And I think, Dan, okay.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So this hasn't been done anywhere else, but what we're just doing tonight is we're setting up a program, and then you keep talking about Marriott. If that happens, there's going to be a hearing where we approve it? Nope.
No,
What happens next?
this is your intent to set this program up.
And
We're gonna
then-
come back with the guidebook and all the details, and then you'll have the opportunity to approve this program, and we'll have to work with, say, a Marriott that wants to use it right
So-
after we get this program set up.
So we get this program set up, then what happens next if Marriott wants it?
They would go through all the challenges on documenting what those improvements are so it can be overseen by an engineer. They would come up with a dollar amount that they are looking to get from their lender. We would work with their lender to make sure they're comfortable with all of the handbook items that the city has set up. And we would then move it forward without a public hearing.
So there's no public hearing once it happens. So we get this in place, this mechanism.
We would come to you with the proposal that a Marriott is looking to enter into, so that you could agree to it.
So council would have approval of whether this thing happens with individual businesses that apply for it.
I think
So
the
we're not,
statutory provisions require an agreement with the city and the developer.
and that has to be approved by us.
That would be approved by council.
Okay, thank you.
Good, and just, I would comment on, you said it's loaded with to-dos, but most of that's on their end, only 7 or 8 for us. And again, the decision point tonight is just, the intent to establish this, so this is just, let's keep moving, but, in my mind with, and again, a little later, we've got, tonight's budget, finalization, and $50,000 or $100,000 can be a wonderful thing. If we had some extra, I guess this falls under permit fees, or what kind of a fee does it fall under?
We probably would track it separately, but it could be under any of those permit
Yeah,
fees, building
yeah.
permit fees. We can dissect that down
Yeah.
to a CPACE fee that's paid.
Sure, so,
Amy's got.
okay, sure.
Well, I just want to say thank you for working on this, and I'm looking forward to what do you call it, a handbook next time you come back. And with that, I'd be happy to make a
Motion, great.
motion to adopt resolution number 24-074, expressing the city's intent to establish a commercial property assessed capital expenditure, CPACE, program in the city of Coeur d'Alene, and setting a public hearing pursuant to Idaho Code 67-38061A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dan, further discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm a little nervous about doing something that hasn't been done before. That can apply to so many things.
Hasn't been done in Idaho. but
In
it's
Idaho
been done-
before, but you're right, it has been done elsewhere. And so I did my research and I looked it up doing elsewhere, and it was interesting because in Idaho, apparently, it's called the Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure Program, but in other states, it's known as the Assessed Clean Energy Expenditure Program. So it has a different name, and I don't know if that affects anything. But it seems to me curious. I don't like government picking sides, and if a business doesn't have the ability to pay, I don't see why we should come in and bail them out. I disagree with that, just philosophically. I think if we're after getting businesses to adopt clean energy and water and all that stuff, we can do that in the building code. I don't think we need to have a new program. Again, it just makes me nervous because I actually don't know what it's going to do, how we're on the line, and if there's this Marriott thing, if that's what we're talking about. If, I remember when that came forward to us through design review, which had nothing really to do with the project other than the way it looks. And it just seemed like they were really eager to start, and they wanted to get it going. And now, if you look at it, there's nothing going on there. But apparently, if this is all true, then they need money and they need to come to us for assistance to get it. And so I don't like that. So even though this is just setting up the program, I'm still going to vote no on it. It'll probably come back to us. And hopefully we have more information. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Could I
Sure,
just clarify? Because I didn't read that the city would be bailing any businesses out. And Randy, did you want to speak to that?
What it is simply a financing mechanism by which the developer goes to a bank and gets a loan, and the city, through an agreement with the developer, assesses like a property tax for the purpose of paying back the loan. So in this case, the statute allows the city to assign that duty to collect the assessment to the lender. If a lender would collect that assessment, would then pay the city its fee out of that. The city is basically hands-off once the agreement is done. And it's just a way that the lender can assure that it's going to get paid back through assessments made by the city.
I understand, and thank you for that definition. And in the other states where I read it, one of the negatives of this is that it is attached to the property. And so if the company does go under, then that assessment is still attached to the property for the duration of the loan period. And that was listed on, in some of the other states as a negative, because it means, in other words, you can't really walk away from it. It's still a thing, and it's a lingering thing too. So like I said before, if I had more information on how it works in Idaho and examples of success, then I'd feel a lot more comfortable supporting it.
Any other discussion? Then I think we will ask for a roll call vote.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Gookin.
No.
Wood.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries, and now I believe we have a public hearing on annual appropriation amendment, so
Yes.
take
see if I
that
can-
away.
Oops, that's not it.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. This is quite possibly the last budget presentation you'll see from me for a while. We're moving into my second favorite time of the year, which is audit season. And so, but you know, from this point, it's budget analysis and making sure that we're on track for the rest of the year. So this is the hearing. I did provide some information when the resolution was set. And so this is the ordinance in order to appropriate the funds. And this amended budget is quite a bit higher than we usually see for our amended budgets. I think it's about $11 million being added. And so when we have that big price tag, I really want to take the time to ensure our public knows the sources of those new expenditures, the reasons why. When we set our budget, we use the best information we have, and then we move forward and operate the rest of the year. And sometimes opportunities come up, sometimes grants, sometimes things that we'd rather not have happen, like emergency costs. So this is the culmination of items you all have seen throughout the year, so hopefully no surprises. And one thing I really want to call out is when we're talking about an amendment for $11 million in expenditures, that is not new ongoing revenue. And as I walk through, I'll show the revenue sources for each of these items. We'll take a look at our updated revenues, just the revenue line items in the general fund that have changed. And I went through this in detail when we had our first meeting for the ordinance or the resolution being set. The big ticket item here is we have ARPA funds that we are finding ways that are allowable for the grant to take care of some projects that really needed to happen. So that reflects ARPA money that is being used in the current fiscal year that is ending. And interest earnings, we really had a great year as far as interest revenue. That's something we can't always rely upon. So that's just been really just adding to being able to cover some of these things that were coming out of fund balance. And then down below, we have some designated fund balance that is related to construction projects or earmarked funds that have been in our fund balance. And then 1.164 of our general fund balance is additionally allocated in the FY24 fiscal year.
Katie?
Yeah.
Regarding the additional fund balance on the bottom, the 1.16, generally, what was that for? Would that be capital items or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we go through, I think I have a number of items that are marked with carryover fund balance. So when I go through all the expenditures, off to the side, we'll have the revenue source. Of course, every time we add an expenditure, we need to know where it's coming from to ensure we can make those commitments. So as far as carryover, I have a feeling that it's related to streets department, remodel, and then our police department expansion that we were able to begin in the current year. So as I go through, I might run into a couple more things.
We weren't going into fund balance to pay for people then.
No, yeah.
Thank you.
We definitely try and avoid that where we can. Our FY25 budget does have fund balance funding ongoing operations people, and that's where we're talking about the deficit there, so. Okay, looking into our updates to expenditures, you'll see a number of these departments are going to have items labeled separation payouts. That has to do with if there's a retiree with sick leave, we pay those out upon retirement. Or if we have someone that leaves the city and they have accrued vacation on the books that is unused, that would be paid out per policy. And carryover is one thing. So, for example, that $1 million from non-designated fund balance is likely coming to our carryover line items that were not accomplished in the current fiscal year, or in the prior fiscal year, so moving forward. Going through, I think, we've got kind of the usual items, some carryover for software, some additional professional services and legal, our building department, street department flooring, and emergency city hall roof repairs. So that's kind of our general maintenance fund. Fire department, we did have to add 200,000 in constant staffing in order to, that's always a question mark when we're beginning with the budget. And our police department, the operational budget, we have a number of grants that were awarded during the fiscal year. So of course we would want to amend to address those expenditures. And as far as carryover fund balance, that would be some items that were unable to be purchased in the prior year. Now down below we have what makes up a large portion of our kind of big ticket overall $11 million increase to the budget, and that is the police department expansion and the unfortunate issue with the fire at the police department outbuilding. So we're recognizing items that can be purchased in the FY24 fiscal year. We're not looking at what everything is going to cost, just the items that we realistically believe that they'll either services performed before the end of the fiscal year or items arriving before the end of the fiscal year. Our streets department, we have 3 leased loaders and overlay. So we've been able to look at some of our streets upgrades, overlays due to increased highway user funds. And this year it's coming out of fund balance, but that's a trend we've been seeing, is being able to do a number of streets projects in the past years. So, and then the remodel for that building, $1 million. Parks, just a couple of little items there. Separation payouts is the big one. Recreation, separation payouts, we had quite a bit of turnover between parks and recreation. Library, a small grant. Impact fees, we are using a bit of the impact fees to help with the overall bid total of the police department expansion, and allocating some for our streets projects. Streets capital projects, the total came out to 0, but we did kind of move some things around, just based on what the higher needs were. Water department, we had a little bit of carryover that was needed for meter replacements from the prior year. I learned that those, when you are purchasing meters, it's a long ways out sometimes. So, you know, typical, especially post-COVID. And I'll kind of skip over, there's a couple garage replacement carryover for the Jewett House. And that is, that fund is funded by individuals renting the Jewett House. So that's a self-funded financial item. And wastewater, we have building improvements. So again, lots of our ability to upgrade some of our facilities with fund balance and ARPA funds. Grand total, we get to the $11.7 million. And if you have any questions at this point, hopefully we can get this passed and get those reports so people can look at their budgets for the ending fiscal year and make sure they're all on track.
Other questions? I know we've been through some of this, but, yeah. And then if not, willing to look at a motion, but, okay, a question or a motion? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your
This
time.
is a public hearing too.
yeah, you
so-
don't need to.
Oh, yes.
Oh, is there
Well,
public
sorry about that, and, so, and we'll open the public hearing for Council Bill 24-1015. Agenda item is a fiscal year 2023 to 24,000 annual appropriation ordinance amendment for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. And forgive me for starting to skip over, but we had nobody sign up again on public comment. So unless there's somebody else, I will close the public hearing. And now I guess have discussions or questions or,
I'm happy to make a motion.
okay?
So I'll make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 24-1015 once by title only.
Second.
Roll call on that one, okay.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin,
Yep.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
And now if the city clerk would read the title of the ordinance.
Council Bill number 24-1015, an ordinance amending Ordinance 3719, the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023, appropriating the sum of $142,245,550, which sum includes additional monies received by the City of Coeur d'Alene in the sum of $11,734,993, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, provide for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and providing an effective date hereof.
I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill 24-1015.
Second.
Another second, okay. Any other discussion and roll call?
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin,
Yep.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
And the motion carries. So now I think we have a quasi judicial hearing with staff report by Mike. Are we, did I get that right, that we have public, or?
Good evening, Council.
Oh, and I need to first off read the following. Please note that the term deliberation in the Idaho Open Meeting Law includes the receipt or exchange of information in any form, including emails, telephone calls, and in-person conversations. In addition, when council sits in a quasi-judicial capacity, its decision can only be based on the information presented at the hearing. That's what we're doing here tonight. Therefore, I would ask if any council member has received or exchanged information related to this zone change request that is not included in the council packet, please disclose that information now so the applicant and the public have full knowledge of the information you possess. Any disclosure?
None.
Okay, none noted. Now.
Okay,
report.
good evening,
Thank you.
council.
Sorry.
This is a public hearing, and the owner for this public hearing is Rivers Edge Apartment LLC, and the applicant is Whipple Consulting Engineers. They're requesting a zone change from R12 and C17 to R17 and approval of a development agreement. Property is located at 3404 West Celtice Way, and legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on August 31st, 2024, and all other required notifications have been made. Property is located here highlighted in red. This is Celtice Way. This is Atlas Road. There are 4 findings that need to be met in order for a zone change to be approved. Findings B1 through B4, and we'll go through each one of these, starting with finding B1. That this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan indicates this area is in the planned unit development place type, and planned development places are locations that have completed the planned unit development application process. Large-scale planned developments often have a determined phasing and development plan that may include land uses such as housing, recreation, and commercial centers, all within one contained development or subdivision. Building design and open space and other elements are approved through the City of Coeur d'Alene PUD evaluation process. The next 2 slides represent comprehensive plan goals and objectives as it relates to this zone change request. The first one is under community identity, and the goal is Coeur d'Alene will strive to be a livable for medium and below income levels, including young families, working class, low income, and fixed income households. The objective is to support efforts to preserve existing housing stock and provide opportunities for new, affordable, and workforce housing. The next goal is under growth and development, and that goal is develop a mix of land uses throughout the city that balance housing and employment while preserving the qualities that make Coeur d'Alene a great place to live. And the objective would be to achieve a balance of housing product types and price points, including affordable housing to meet city needs. Another objective would be increased physical and visual access to lakes and rivers. The comprehensive plan speaks to housing in 7 action items and several goals and objectives. The applicant has made a commitment to allocate 5% of the new units for workforce housing at an area medium income for 5 years. The next finding is finding B2, that the public facilities and utilities are or are not available and adequate for the proposed use. City staff from engineering, streets, water, fire, police, parks, and wastewater departments have reviewed the application request in regards to public utilities and public facilities, and each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available to serve the proposed request. The next finding is finding B3, that the physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. There's a topographical map indicating the topography. At Celtice, it's higher and it slopes south towards the river. The next few slides are site photos of the subject area. This is a site photo looking west along Celtice Way. This is at the entrance of the property looking southwest. This is at the center of the property looking north towards the clubhouse. This is a property looking south, showing the additional units there. This is a property at the southern portion of the center looking towards the west. This is at the southwest corner of the property looking east. This is at the center of the south part of the property looking towards the river. And this is at the southeast location looking east towards the Atlas Mill site. The last finding is finding B4, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. The city engineer has indicated that Southeast Way is a principal arterial. At build-out of project, over 1,000 additional trips a day could be generated, additional 94 morning and 50 evening peak hour trips. Southeast Way is currently operating at an acceptable level of service. Proposed development will not cause excessive congestion. Here's a zoning map indicating the existing zoning with the C-17 on the northern half and the R-12 on the southern half. The proposed zoning would change it to R-17 throughout the majority of the property, with the leaving a part of it as C-17 at this location. The proposed C-17 zoning district is intended as a medium to high-density residential district located in areas not suitable for lower-density residential due to proximity to more intense types of land uses. It's appropriate as a transition between low-density residential and commercial districts, or as a buffer between arterial streets and low-density residential districts. Here's the surrounding land uses. To the east, we have multifamily. To the north and to the west, we have some commercial activity, some mixed use located here. We have a pedestrian trail located along the river. Single-family dwellings are located here, and multifamily located here. Some PUD information regarding this development. So the existing PUD has an apartment complex located here, self-storage units located in this location in the northwest part of the property, and some 28 single-family lots located along the river, with the trail located behind those lots. If the zone change is approved, the applicant will build a trail along the river and add additional apartment units. Some comparisons for what is approved and they're currently approved for 384 units, and this approval, if it's approved, will allow for 680. The mini storage units will go away, the residential lots along the river will go away, and there'll be 19.3% open space rather than 13% open space. And there will be a trail along the river for the public to access. Applicant has submitted an open space plan indicating how they're going to develop the open space with access points along the river with the trail located here. And the next slides are kind of zoom-ins of those. So you can see the trail located along the river and some access points at this location to the west. There's a major one in the center. And this is a cross-section of what that open space, the trail open space plan would look like with a 16-foot paved trail located here. If this is approved, there will be a trail connection along the Spokane River to the city center. It's kind of illustrated through this design here where people can access to the city center through this, and also will allow for a future connection to the Mill River site to the west. There are 28 conditions related to this proposed request. I won't read them all, but they're at the end of your staff report, and the applicant has reviewed these. So the decision tonight, City Council will need to consider this zone change request and make findings to approve with additional conditions, deny, or deny without prejudice. You will also need to consider the development agreement and take action to approve or approve with amendments, reject, or redirect the applicant to work with staff on modifications to the agreement. And that concludes my presentation.
So now we will move to open the public hearing, and we do in fact have a few people signed up, and just 3, but Joanne, would you like to give the oath to them as a group?
Would you please stand up?
So if the people who are going to testify, Tim Keaty, John Bruning, and Lance Douglas, if you're here, would stand up and she'll give you the oath? Okay.
Please raise your right hand and respond by saying, "I affirm." Do you solemnly swear and or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And were you on the public hearing?
I'm not. I'm here on behalf of the applicant.
Oh,
I
okay, so
represent
is
the
this the time
applicant.
they give their, okay, great, okay, I'm learning, okay. I wondered why you were here.
You
Okay.
know, that city attorney looks familiar. I've seen him somewhere before, but I can't remember where. Thank you. I'm Mike Gridley. I am working with Lance Douglas, the owner of the property, River's Edge property, and here to explain to you some of the benefits of what the project will bring to the city. We've got a PowerPoint presentation, and leading off with with a fellow that we woke him up, but yeah, he's Doug Eastwood, who many of you know, and what I want to speak to, and we'll speak to the whole project, but I want to, I think, as I think about it, the contrast of the potential benefits of this project, specifically the trail on the water, and also providing additional housing close to where people want to work, the medical center, the Riverstone, the schools, but also contrast with what we will have if we don't approve the project, which will be 28 more houses on the river and no public access, or very limited access. So let's see what Doug Eastwood has to say. Please
My name is Doug
watch this
Eastwood. I
video.
retired recently, actually almost 10 years ago now, as the Coeur d'Alene Parks Director, and I did that for nearly 35 years. And spent most of that time doing the acquisition and development of their parkland, and of course laying out their trail system that now interconnects this community and quite a few others.
I'm Mike Gridley. I am the retired Coeur d'Alene City Attorney, and I am working with Lance Douglas on a project that I believe strongly in, and that is building a trail on the Spokane River. I've been involved in a number of trail projects, developing the Prairie Trail, completing the Centennial Trail. The property in question has been approved for a development, but the trail is not on the river. If the new proposal that will be coming forward to the Planning Commission and City Council is approved, Mr. Douglas will build the trail along the river, which will extend the trail from Atlas Park along the Spokane River for another quarter of a mile, and will allow public access to a beach and swimming area.
So I'm familiar with the River's Edge project, and what I like to have people do with respect to that is step back and take a much larger look at the bigger picture. The city of Coeur d'Alene has an opportunity with the River's Edge development to create one of the greatest walking corridors probably in all of Idaho, if not most of the country.
I'm Tabitha Bonner, and I am the Executive Director for the North Idaho Centennial Trail. One of the jobs I do is really advocate for the trails in North Idaho. The Centennial Trail, plus many other trails, bring over $3 million of extra money to our community and to businesses in this community. So not only is it bringing health and wellness, but it's bringing that economic health as well.
That corridor, with River's Edge being almost in the middle of it, is nearly a mile long, but it travels along the river all the way down to where the lake meets the Spokane River. So it's a very integral part, and stepping back, looking at the big picture, and thinking about where we can be 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now, if we give this every bit of due consideration to have the waterfront access as close as possible.
I ride my bike as much as I can, and I think this amenity will just add to the many beautiful amenities in Coeur d'Alene that will be around for our children, our children's children, and generations beyond that.
I'm Greta Gissel, and I'm the Executive Director of CDA 2030. Our area has seen incredible growth this last year, and we need more housing units. In fact, a recent study stated that we need approximately 2,300 units to fulfill the needs of our current population, not including people that continue to want to move to this beautiful place. As of 2019, only 24% of the current population in Kootenai County could afford to purchase a home. In 2016, it was 75% of our population. As housing prices increase, our need grows stronger for affordable housing so that we can keep the people who truly run our community here.
Trails in our area are so important to people, whether it's traveling, whether it's health, whether it's being together in families. Along with that is where our trails are located. Trails are very important. We do not want to be on the roads. We love to be closer to the lake, the river. That's why we live here. The more trails we have means our community is more connected here in North Idaho.
People come to North Idaho because our quality of life is very good. We've got great air, we have great water, we have wildlife, we have mountains and trees, and it's just endless. But when you're working in it day in and day out and you have that opportunity to come home or on a weekend, exit your door, get on a trail system without conflict of vehicle traffic, etc., it does wonders for your health and your mental capacity. And it's just a very, very good thing to have in any community. I would recommend and support it, but I live here, so I support it the most in North Idaho. Whatever we can do to enhance that endeavor for a better and greater trail system for the people, then we need to take every concern, every issue that's on the table and break it down and look at where we want to be 5, 10, 20 years from now. And I think this one right here, the River's Edge project, needs a real good look.
We want to keep our families here. We want our kids and our kids' kids to grow up here. Our local workers, nurses, doctors, teachers, police officers, firefighters, and people in our service industry.
What we do today will matter because it will last forever. Once it's gone, or if it's just built out with houses, then it will be gone forever. And I think it's worth saving and worth building a trail for all the public to use for generations to come.
My name is Doug Eastwood. My name is...
I need to see that again. So I want to go through a couple of the benefits that we were just highlighted in that video. This is one of the amenities that would be built by Mr. Douglas, River's Edge. And it struck me that this is a very unique situation because typically the city's been trying to acquire waterfront and take taxpayer dollars and buy property and take taxpayer dollars and build improvements along the river, like the Atlas waterfront amenities, the dog park and the park that are so popular. Here we have an opportunity for the private developer to build the waterfront, that the public build out the waterfront that the public has told us over and over that they want to see more of or have more access to. Build that out without taxpayer expense. What does he want in exchange? He wants to build more apartments on his property. History is important, and going back to a resolution, as we looked at this, that was passed by council in 2014, 10 years ago, that spoke to the importance of the Spokane River Corridor and the idea that the public has spoken many times about having the desire for more waterfront access. And I think we've all heard that, and we all want that at some level. And the council, and some of you were on council at the time, passed a resolution instructing staff to do whatever they could to maximize acquisition. And in this case, the city would not be acquiring the waterfront, but it would be getting a permanent easement, essentially acquiring the waterfront along along the Spokane River, adjacent to the River's Edge apartments. So just a reminder, because it is kind of confusing. So this is what is currently approved. And Mike Bahari and Hillary Anderson, your planning department, has done an excellent job working on this project. Many of us have lived here for a while. Remember, it wasn't too long ago that that whole area, including the Atlas site, was a brownfield. It was a mill site. It was not used. If you were out there, you were probably trespassing and would be shot or arrested or be in trouble at least. Now it's a thriving community. It's a thriving area with Riverstone and the Atlas part of the development. Very successful, I think. But this is what has been approved. Mr. Douglas could go out and pull building permits for these 28 lots, sell them off, and they would be gone. The waterfront would be built. It's been approved for mini storages on this parcel here. The trail would be built adjacent or behind these homes. What would that look like? And this is what's being built there now. This is where the mini storages would be, and this is where the homes would be. Mini storages. That's kind of the view we would have. This is something of the view from the river that one would have. This is from, I think, Belle Rive. The access for the public is on the other side of these houses. Of course, we've all been familiar with some places where there is no access to the river, and even at Belle Rive, it's limited access. I think this slide is significant because this is more or less the way it would look if Mr. Douglas built out his property as is approved right now, as is could be done tomorrow. We have an opportunity now to say, no, we don't want that. We want the trail on the other side of these houses, on the river side of the houses. And we want the trail to connect to our existing Atlas Trail and connect to the west end at Mill River, where there is the opportunity to connect on to Hutter Road. And so we'll go through these slides fairly quickly, but this shows more or less how it would be built out if the proposal is not approved. This is where the houses, the private single-family homes would be built along the river. This is a street view, and it shows what, if you're a pedestrian, what you would see of the river. It'd be a nice complex, but you're not gonna have the same experience. And I would say you're not honoring the public's desires, and you're not really honoring council's previous direction as far as acquiring or attempting to acquire waterfront for the public. Here is a short video, just a walkthrough of the experience. If it's built out as currently approved, with no further action by council or anyone else.
When you look at this video, which way is the river? Is it to the left or the right?
It would be to the right on the other side of these, what are very plain-looking single-family homes, but that's representation of the houses. So you'd be walking east, I think.
Just the shadows are wrong, that's all.
Oh. Well, I'm not the shadow guy, so thanks for that detail. So yeah, the river would be over here. The people that own these houses would have a very nice view, and then this would be a path, and there will be a path built. That's a requirement, but it would be here rather than on the other side. So really, what we're asking for is a zone change, increasing the density that would allow additional apartments. Again, the plan would be to remove mini storage, this is a better picture, in this area that's approved for storage units, storage of stuff, and allow apartments to be built for the storage of people, if you will, along with apartments along here. And then the trail would link up with the existing Atlas Trail that the city has built out and come along the waterfront, along here, and then connect here. And then beyond that, as you go into Mill River going west, I think there's plans working right now to go down the railroad corridor. It would not be on the river, but would connect as a trail there. And then ultimately it will connect up to the Centennial Trail, which is along Saltese. And this would be the look, we'll see if we got the shadows right here. This would be more representative of the trail if it's built, if the plan is approved, the proposed plan is approved, and so the river would be here, and this is all public access. There would be apartments over here to the right, but this would all be public. Here's our amphitheater, rock and roll shows, whatever we're going to have. This is, again, representative of how it would be built out if the current plan proposal, the current proposal is approved. And that's another look at the proposal. Oh, and it's, hopefully nobody gets motion sickness here with our video.
Let's see, and while that's going, Mike, in the applicant Public Open Space Plan 2, it has some, which unless they're Mariner Trading Forks, I think they're docks. Do you know what those docks are potentially, who they're for, or?
I think they, I'm sorry, go ahead. They would be available to, I think the intent would be to lease those out, rent them out
okay,
to people.
You get the permits.
So a couple, oh, we don't want to see it again. So here's a picture of summertime in Coeur d'Alene from the Atlas Trail. The River's Edge project, as you can see in the distance, being worked on. So this trail would go. You can see an example of how the public is using our waterfront trail, and we would extend that with this proposed project. And I think that's one of the big benefits, obviously. And then we've all seen the traffic increase, and I think one of the things that this project provides is an opportunity for people to live closer to where they work. And what does that mean? Well, that means that they don't need to get in a car to drive to where they work. If they work in Riverstone, if they work at the medical center, if they work downtown even, they can walk, ride a bike, even e-bike to where they work. So I think Mr. Douglas, in the development agreement, if the zone change is approved, has brought some unique opportunities to the city. One of the big thing is the waterfront trail that I obviously strongly support. One component that we haven't really seen before is the idea of some amount of affordable housing. That's not been something that's been brought forward before. Could it be bigger? Could it be better? Sure. But it's something that is unique, I think, and he's brought that forward. So I think it's important to keep in mind, again, that the land has been approved for private development with the 28 single-family homes, and we have an opportunity, really at no cost to the city or the taxpayers, to get waterfront trail, waterfront access in exchange for allowing more apartments to be built that would be a demand for, that people could sort of live, work, and play from those apartments. So, thank you for your time, and if you have any questions I can answer, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Mike right now? Otherwise, we'll open the public hearing, and we did have, little over a page of people that signed up, and what I will do is read their name, and whether they were in favor or opposed, and then for those who wanted to speak, I'll let them speak. Tim Keaty is in favor and does wish to speak. Is he here? Tim Keaty?
Correct.
Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, you're good. And you have 3 minutes.
Council, thank you very much and appreciate your service. So I want to take you back in time, 8+ years ago. I was riding my bike from NIC, and you kind of go under 95, and then you go up this little rise, and right there's a bench. You sit on that bench, and you look over Blackwell Island, and you look back at the bridge, and you get the most beautiful view of Coeur d'Alene and what the city is. So you keep going a little bit further, and you get down to Beebe Boulevard and Riverstone, and that's kind of a really cool area. It's popular. If you were to go ride that today, and you were to go from NIC and go under the bridge and go up the ridge and sit on that bench, you'd see everything the same. But about 2,000 yards, perhaps, further down towards Beebe Boulevard, you start seeing all these $1 million homes pop up or so. I was used to a $1 million view coming down into there, looking over that beautiful area. And then I started seeing these houses come up, and that's all I see now are these houses. And kind of feel like I'm in an alley, because there's this little trail, and their driveways are literally 10 feet away from the trail, and then the houses right there. And so we have about 500,000 people ride the trail every year. And so those 500,000 people are seeing this $1 million view kind of just go away. And then, if you go a little further down the road, past Beebe Boulevard, where that new complex is going to be, you get to this wonderful place called Atlas Park. Any city in America would be thrilled to show that off. That's a beautiful, beautiful park. And, let's go have that same ride in about 5 years from now. We go up the rise, we see the $1 million view, then our $1 million view goes away to a few $1 million homes and a few people that get to enjoy that. Then you go back to the $1 million view again at Atlas, and we have an opportunity to continue that $1 million view and have another Atlas Park. That would be beautiful for all of us. And if we don't, we're going to get that $1 million view of those 28 homes, and the 28 people in those homes are going to get the $1 million view that the millions of people are going to miss out on for years and years and years to come, because once it happens, it's gone. So my vote, absolutely worth preserving the $1 million view. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. And now I will, read somebody Suzanne Knutson of Coeur d'Alene is opposed, does not wish to testify, and I don't think I see her. And then we'll go back. John Bruning is in favor and would like to testify. And here he comes now. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and
Sure.
Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm here tonight representing the North Idaho Centennial Trail Board of Directors. I am a member of that board, as is Tim. Mike and Doug covered a lot of the points I wanted to make in their nice video, but there's a couple things I wanted to reinforce. First of all, the Trail Foundation, our mission is to ensure that the trail is maintained, it's improved, and the trail is expanded wherever that is possible. To fulfill that mission, the Board of Directors strongly supports this development agreement and encourages you to approve the agreement for this property. Specifically, the board, as Doug mentioned, for 30 years, has been promoting the location of the trail along the waterfront of the Spokane River and the lake, with public access to the water. Remember, as they said, once you lose this access, you never get it back. It's gone forever. The site plan calls for a 1,600-foot-long trail, 16 feet wide, which is tremendous, and 4 points of access to the river. This section will be the connection between the Atlas waterfront and property and to the future trail through Mill River. The request is supported in the city's comprehensive plan, and I quote, "The plan encourages publicly owned and/or private recreation facilities for all citizens. This includes hiking and biking paths, open space, and water access. This development agreement accomplishes all of the above." So what kind of traffic is there on the trail? Well, Tim mentioned we get about 500,000 users a year. That includes hikers, bikers, everything. We have a counter on the trail, but that counter cannot separate bikers from walkers and so forth. But we do know we have good counts. The counts are more for establishing trends, or is there an increase in use or a decrease? So far, all we see is increases. And I'd say especially during the pandemic, the use was tremendous. People had to get out, and they really used the trail, and we saw some tremendous spikes in the usage. Right now, we're averaging about 654 a day. And we had 17 days this year with over 1,000 users per day and 2 days with over 2,000. So gives you an idea of the use. So we encourage you to look favorably on this request. The comprehensive plan supports it. The board of directors of the foundation unanimously supports it. And I'm sure the citizens of Coeur d'Alene in the future will love it. And they will love you for approving it. So thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. And next, somebody in opposition. Aaron, I think Barnard in Coeur d'Alene is in opposition but did not wish to speak. And then, let's see, next in favor is Lance Douglas in favor and would like to speak.
Actually, I'm just here to answer questions that you may have. I think Mike did a great job presenting along with Mike Bahari.
Okay, and, well, and do we have questions for him? Would you?
Not yet.
Because he's represented, there might be later in the summary with Mike, you could come up, so, thank you. And, let's see, and then Robert Knutson is opposed, does not wish to speak, and I don't think is here. Todd, is it Unipol, is in favor, and does not wish to speak. And Karen Hansen does not wish to speak. I don't know if. I decided I do want to speak. Okay. And were you in favor or opposed?
I'm neither. I'm kind of neutral.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's a checkbox here, so you will have your 3 minutes. Thank you.
So I came to the council meeting 10 years ago when this was all proposed, and the reason I'm neutral is that I think that the negotiation was a failure back 10 years ago when we should have had that riverfront negotiated to the public to begin with. Now they're coming back going, hey, we're going to give you, we're going to give you the riverfront if you give us, the extra zoning that we want, the extra density that we want. Well, I've come to the city council meeting for over a decade, and I'm really tired of these developers saying, please give us X, ABC. And then we say, the people were packed in here because they didn't want to see this. And then now that it's not under the radar, they come back and they want, more density, but we're going to give you the waterfront. Well, this is great. That's why I'm neutral on it. It's a win-win for everybody, but it should have been negotiated that way 10 years ago. This habit of developers coming in and asking for something, we go back and forth with the public. We come to a mutual agreement 10 years ago, and then they constantly come back and want more, more, and more. And they're always holding out some little gem, in this case the riverfront, to dangle in front of us going, okay, we'll give you this riverfront if you give us this extra zoning. Well, when is it going to stop? When are we going to quit making, the houses 5 feet apart from each other? Making the streets 20 feet wide instead of what they're supposed to be. And then the other thing is that the bike trail isn't going all the way through. There's, I don't know how many feet of section that goes through, is it called Mill River? That just stops where the train was. And it just stops, it's not being developed. Who's going to develop that and finish the continuous trail so that we have a continuous trail, not just bits and pieces of it? I want to know who's going to finish these pieces. And then we have that lease property from BLM that's been sitting there between Bellarive and the 95 bridge, that's been sitting there another decade, that the city, I understand, is paying $1 a year to lease it. And we, in this very room, it was all these grandiose, promises that this is what we're going to give you for all of these concessions that we want to build these houses on. And there's nothing but weeds there. Nothing's been happening. They dug a ditch to facilitate some water coming down, but there's nothing been done. So I'd like some answers to those questions.
Well, and I appreciate you testifying and being, even if you're in the middle, to being willing to speak your piece. Ryan Andrade, I think, but Spokane Valley in favor, does not wish to speak. Manson Douglas in favor, does not wish to speak. Chris Meyer in favor, does not wish to speak. Doug Eastwood in favor, but does not wish to speak other than through the video, I guess. You did, okay. Okay, you would like to speak. Great, okay. Got checked.
Wouldn't want to miss that opportunity.
Okay, okay. Witness, it was no.
Well, first of all, Mayor Pro Tem and council members, thanks for everything you've been doing. And I was laughing at myself earlier because I'm going to have to talk to people that do these still shots on these videos and make sure they don't catch me asleep. And when I walked in here this evening, it was like one of those things, I've been here before, you ever had that experience? And Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was going through my head. It was a deja vu. But all of that aside, one of the things I just want to emphasize here is you, Mayor and Council, you are one of 4 owners of the North Idaho Centennial Trail. You and Kootenai County and City of Post Falls and the state parks, you all have an equal share. Each of you own almost 6 acres of the 6 miles of the 23-mile trail. And over the years, and it's been over 30 years now, each one of you have done subtle improvements along that trail. Kootenai County assisted in getting the bridge lit over the Spokane River and getting the whole thing refurbished. One of the things I really appreciate is the neutral position. There's questions that need to be answered, and the North Idaho Centennial Trail Foundation will hopefully get on your agenda at least once a year and give you that big picture. But there are some great things going on at Southeast Way and Highway 41 and I-90 and all of the interchange work that involves the Centennial Trail and the removal of all the conflict that we've had there. And you know that intersection has historically been known as Dysfunction Junction. In addition to that, the things that you've done have been spectacular. And over the years, you've added some really incredible, nice waterfront trail systems all the way from your downtown Coeur d'Alene that now comes clear to River's Edge. And you have an opportunity to fit that piece of the puzzle into your waterfront trail system. The waterfront was where the trail was intended to be when it was looked at as far back as 1986. And we walked it with then Governor Cecil Andrus. And he was admonishing everybody that was involved for the vision of trying to get that done. It just takes time. It'll not be done tonight, and it won't be done tomorrow night. There's always pieces that have to be worked on. This is a huge piece that helps get us one step closer to that long-term goal of putting that trail along the waterfront and giving the entire community, visitors to the community, the thing that they live here for and the thing that they come here for. That's the view of our water. It's something that once you lose that view, you've lost it forever. You know better than anybody, there's always trade-offs and there's always compromises, but in the end, that 5, 10, 50 years from now that I mentioned, that's where you want to be. What are we going to have? We can have something spectacular. I'm sorry for going over.
And we would appreciate, an annual report and come and visit you or somebody and give us some updates.
There's so much happening. I think you would love to hear it and see it.
Okay, well, thank you. And I believe that unless there is anybody in the audience who meant to sign up and didn't, otherwise, I think we close the hearing, and do they get a closing statement? Okay. Mike, and I don't know if you want to have Lance come with you for any questions, or sounds like council may have a few questions that have, Mr. Douglas, or? Yes, okay, they do.
Thing I'm probably smart enough to comment on is the trail will connect from this point on the western edge, will come up to the existing Centennial Trail that runs along Saltese. Correct about that. So there will be connectivity, and that's one of the goals we have. So, I think, like we said, that we've talked earlier that people aren't going to move to Coeur d'Alene. This project isn't going to cause people to move to Coeur d'Alene. But the people that want to live here will have an opportunity to live in some additional units closer to the water, closer to Riverstone, where they may work, closer to the medical center where they work, closer to the schools, places like that. So I think that's a benefit. That otherwise, where do people live? The houses will be built out on the prairie. And then how will people get to work? They will get in their car with everybody else and come down the road to where they work. So I think that's one of the benefits to consider. If you
Would you
have
like
any
to just open to
questions.
questions, anybody?
Go ahead.
Sure, Kiki?
No,
Oh,
Dan was first.
Yes, I always have questions.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. So, cool stuff. I like the trail. I remember Doug Eastwood would say that it would be really cool to have a trail that went all the way from Sanders Beach all the way up to Atlas Park, and we're almost there. So that would be really fun. And really no objections except one, which is that, so we're talking a increase in apartment units of 77%. And during the hearing for Cortair, it was mentioned that the roundabout at Atlas is failing. So would you be willing to, as part of the development agreement, agree to put in a full intersection there to help with the traffic?
No, not at this time. We're agreeing to fund a study to see what the fixes may be for the adjoining roads.
I see that in here. That is, that's the development agreement number 11, which is a traffic management plan, should be funded by the applicant per the development agreement. But that seems like a cart horse thing. I mean, if we want to figure out what the impact is going to be, and it was already stated during Cortair that this is the roundabout has failed. And roundabouts are great, and I like them, but they're only effective up to a certain amount of traffic. And at some point, that intersection is going to need to be replaced.
I think at the staff agreement, it says that the failure date is 20.
in front of the mic.
I think that the staff report, if I'm going from recollection, says that the CLTs fails in 2035 regardless of whether we have this project approved or not.
Okay. But you're not willing to modify the development agreement to include putting in an intersection at that point?
I don't know if that would work any better than your roundabout works, but no, I'm not willing to fund that.
Thank you.
And now, Kiki, I think you had, okay.
I've been really mulling this over. I've got a lot of questions, and I want to clarify some things. And what I want to be sure I don't do is not speaking to my microphone. Is I don't want to rain on the Centennial Trail and that board and their parade, because I've been hugely supportive of them from the very beginning. I fundraised to build the very first map for the Centennial Trail system, and so I'm very, very, very fond of that, and I love all this. But here's some things I want to be clear about on this. What Dan was just talking about is that it does say that the traffic will fail with or without this development, even without this development in 10 years. So what this development's going to do, albeit we'll have a study to tell us potentially how to fix it, is it could fail within 3 years of this project being open. So I think that's something that it puts a burden on the citizens who are already there. We're hastening the failure of something we already know is going to happen. A couple of other things that weren't really talked about, and this kind of, in my mind, I wrote the $1 million view comments, is these are leased docks, and I don't see how big they are, but if they're 4-boat docks at the scale that's drawn there, which they could be whatever is approved, that could be a 90-boat marina there.
Not really. The docks are regulated by the Idaho State Department of Lands, I think.
Right, so you can only have so many square footage over water, but
Right,
depending
you
on
don't-
how many feet you have, you could have, I didn't do the math, but you could have substantially more boats than 28 homes would have.
I don't think that's true because you're limited to the number of feet of your dock is limited to the number of frontage feet that you have on your site. So regardless whether this is a multifamily site or single family, you're allowed the same amount of docks on either one. So you'll have no less or no more depending on what the use is that's approved.
And it could be at 1,600 feet, it could be 16. But they could be multiple slip docks that are shown there. I guess that's my point. They're intended to be leased docks, they're not public docks, and that's not really addressed here. And so I'm just saying that the $1 million view is not going to be what people right now are thinking the $1 million view of the river is going to be. It's going to be rows of boats.
Well, right now,
And-
they have no view of the river from my property. And what's approved, they will not have a view from the river either.
That's true. And then, further to that point, this 1,600 feet, which is a quarter of a mile, and I was kind of calculating what that would take in all these miles and miles of trails. It'd take about 6 minutes to walk it, and less than 2 minutes probably to bike it. And then to get to the next connectivity, you go through the parking lot of the apartments to get to the Centennial Trail on the north, or you go up higher to the existing trail that the city owns that goes behind the other homes. So I guess what my point is I've said, I'm throwing out different views here because I had said I'm not going to sleep well if I don't say my piece here, regardless of what happens, and I'm still somewhat neutral on it. But the facts are that for the trade out of what we're doing here, one side of the Centennial Trail is going to be 4 stories of luxury apartments, which are waterfront luxury apartments, and the other side's going to be boat docks. And there's going to be 4 access points for the general public to get to. And once you get past that, less than a quarter of a mile, you're going to take a sharp right and take a left to what exists right now, which likely someday that will be paved, and you'll see the back of multi-million-dollar homes. So when I'm trying to weigh this out, I'm saying what's the real benefit for the public to say we've got this waterfront trail now, because we could end up with the same scenario that we did with the Belle Reve Boardwalk. There's the public boardwalk there that was the open space, but people don't know that it exists.
Well, that's
And-
not necessarily true, though, because the public boardwalk at the Belle Reve says that there's no access to the water. It's on the waterway. The houses are crowding up to the high water mark. I think the 20-foot setback, because they got a variance on that. We're taking 80 foot, so we have 4 times the setback from it. We have access to the water where people are encouraged to go down on the beach and get in the water, play fetch with the dogs, swim and all that. You can do none of that from the Belle Reve Boardwalk. They have the signs up that say no skateboards, no bikes.
I guess that's true, but
no
my point
access.
was that people don't know that the Belle Reve Boardwalk exists. And in this situation, playing devil's advocate with it, this will look like a luxury waterfront apartment complex with its own private boat docks that has a city easement sidewalk through it. So I'm just trying to put in perspective how some people could view this, as this isn't as huge of a boon benefit to the public. There's nothing in the development agreement that says you're going to build an amphitheater. There's just a picture of it. There's nothing that says that, there's a bunch of crossings scheduled to be put in there, but they could change. And my point is, if this didn't occur and 28 homes were built there, there'd be 28 docks, there'd be two crossings across this. And Mike, I appreciate your the illustration of, this is what it could look like. But the pictures that you put that didn't have the right shadows, those are like 4-story buildings, which isn't what would be built there on the riverside of the property. There would be a trail with apartments on one side and homes that will probably look very similar to what is on the other side of where that trail ends after that 1/4 mile. So I'm just saying, what is the huge benefit that we're selling here to the public? And to give up this waterfront space for the public use is really, really limited. Now, I am being very, open-minded about it, saying the public who moves into these apartments, those are our citizens too. They are our citizens too. So if this is what it looks like, and the city says we're going to pave this and put some juniper bushes, it's literally less than 2 minutes on your bike of the view that you didn't have. So
That's not necessarily true. If you had mentioned it's 2 minutes walking earlier, And if you're, it's over a quarter mile long, it's 1,600 feet. So if you're going 10-minute miles, which would be
I think I said 6 minutes, 6 or 8 minutes to walk it and 2 minutes to ride it. I was just spitballing if that's not a proper calculation. I guess I'm just trying to draw a different picture of does this development agreement really, and lock in this benefit for the public? Or, because it's happened to me more than once, that there's engineers and designs and programs brought forward, and then a few years later I drive by and they say, oh, well, that didn't pencil, so I didn't build it that way. So I'm just saying that these are some things I've been thinking about. I appreciate that there's some effort to make some local worker housing in here, but it isn't unprecedented. That has been happening throughout the county. That has been happening. It's happened in the city of Coeur d'Alene before. And this is 15 units for 5 years, which I'm certain not going to be the waterfront luxury condo section. So it's really a negligible benefit.
Well,
and
yeah,
so
but
in
why-
my
why
mind,
doesn't the
I
council-
said,
why doesn't the
in my
council-
mind, I said, if I'm supposed to evaluate and be judicious about this, looking at it from all sides, does that follow our low-income, all-families, fixed-income goal for the comp plan? And my answer would be no. It doesn't. At 100% AMI for a family of 4 for 5 years, in 15 units out of 680 units, it's barely a drop.
Now we'll let Mr. Douglas, were you going to respond to?
Well,
To her.
I don't believe the city has any requirement for any affordable housing in their projects, do they? And if they don't have any standards for that, and we're coming in here and we're offering to do something, it's more than what you guys have enacted in your code.
Development agreements are negotiations, so I think there's give and take in all of this.
We gave the 5% out of 290 units, not 680. The 384 is already approved.
Okay, and.
Okay, so
Yep.
I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, there's just a different view that could be taken in some of this, and so I'm saying the piece of what I had. I know the storage units are, nobody wants storage units, it could be horrible, but on the other hand, these places are really packed in tight down there. They've got some of them that are got teeny tiny garages. It could be that storage units will reduce the number of traffic trips dramatically from the apartments, which saves the traffic on the arterial, and they could be a real asset to the neighborhood down there. So I've looked at this from both sides on a lot of these points, and I just wanted to publicly say I'm just not positive that the way this is being sold and the guarantees that are in the development agreement will provide what is being put here is as huge of a benefit to the general public that it looks like, and that's what I wanted to say.
Amy?
Hi. I think you just answered my question, so I apologize for making you repeat it, but I do want to clarify. So when you were first in front of Planning Commission, you requested 881 units, and then there was a modification to decrease that number to 680 units.
Correct.
Correct, okay. And then with that, when we talk about the 5% is based on 296 units versus 680 units. And you answered that by saying because the 384 were previously approved,
They're previously approved and they're built right now.
and they're built right now. And because we have this opportunity to have a discussion with you, and thank you for including the 5% in there, I realize that that's not required. I would be remiss if I did not ask if you would be willing to either extend the time frame from 5 years to 10 years or increase the percentage.
What would you rather have?
Well, Kiki is our expert on affordable housing, but I would suggest that we would increase it to 10% of the 296
For 5 years?
for 5 years.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Christie?
Thank you. Well, I've been in this position before, And going back many, many years ago, and at North Idaho College, when we were trying to acquire waterfront for the public forever, and we had a one-time opportunity, and it was the education corridor. And there was a lot of conversation in the community, many for it, many maybe not sure if they were for it. What would the benefit be? Well, we know what the benefit is. I know what the benefit is. I know that the public will always have that property. They will always have access to it, just like the Atlas Park. So I think our role, when we're in these positions, is to be visionary, to look out for the generations to come. And we don't always get an opportunity. We don't, even though it's a small chunk of land, we don't get these opportunities very often to get our hands on it. And it'll still be yours, but the public will have the access, which I think is huge. It levels the playing field for everyone. I'm the whole idea that we could have 28 mega mansions or not, and then have access for the public to the water, that's, to me, the trade-off is, a little more density, which I understand you need to do that to make this pencil out. I think that's been the crux of it all along. How does it pencil for you, and how does it work for this community? And so I don't want to pass up an opportunity ever for us to have public access. This isn't going to cost any more money. What we have to do is we have to give a little on density. And I'm pleased that you just now on the spot agreed to more housing, workforce housing. And I think the traffic plan, I think from that we can come back and have future discussions as the years go on. But right now, I would really hope the council will take this opportunity to preserve public space, any opportunity we get.
Is your landscape
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Follow-up question to Amy's question. So Amy asked, and this is in the development agreement number 24 regarding increasing the amount of affordable housing from 5 to 10%. What happens after 5 years?
Goes the market rate.
Okay. So how is the 5% determined then? Is that 5% of existing units or 5% of future units?
The 5% of the future unit, or I agreed to do 10%.
10%.
Of the 290 additional units that we're here for today.
Okay, so how long is it going to take to build those 290 units? And when does the clock start?
Well, I'm sure the clock would start as soon as we start coming online with them on the market.
Okay.
Or I could, I would ask that we could, if I wanted to start it tomorrow, I could put it in the existing 384 units.
I'm sorry.
The current
And I think
development
our-
agreement says at the time of the certificate of occupancy.
Okay, so that's the rule there. So it's, okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry.
And, okay.
Follow up.
Kiki? Yes.
So the time at the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the first apartment or the last apartment?
The way the development agreement is currently written, it would be for the first building.
Of the new 296? And in these buildings, there isn't anything that says this, but we're talking about 100% of the AMI for family of 4. Are these all 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom apartments?
There's 1, 2s, and 3s.
There's nothing that specifies that these couldn't be studio apartments or 1-bedroom apartments at this market rate. Is there anything that we can do to adjust the language in that? We're fighting for a pretty small number of homes here.
I don't understand the question.
If you were to use the AMI for a family of 4 and calculate that rate, you could qualify a 1-bedroom lease, which I don't know that a family of 4 could legitimately live there, but you could use that in the lease for that rate amount.
We wouldn't, but I understand what you're saying. Because we wouldn't lease to a family of 4 in a 1-bedroom unit because there's too many occupants per bedroom.
Right. It's just been done in these agreements in the Northwest a lot, where that becomes the norm that says, well, we can spend a half an afternoon to just pull leases and say, well, here's one at this AMI, and we can prove that we've leased some, but there's no unit specific, not going to say that word, no unit size specified. So if it's going to be, you know, I would leave that to common sense and not have to say right now, but what I'm saying is you could take and qualify with one-bedroom apartments that wouldn't be a family of four appropriate.
I think actually you'd have a harder time qualifying in a one-bedroom apartment on single income would be presumed you'd have in a one-bedroom. Whereas in a two-bedroom with a family of four, you're presumed to have two incomes on it. So
You're
probably
presumed,
easier
right.
time qualifying on a two-bedroom with two incomes than on a one-bedroom with one income.
Well, the way that it's written, it doesn't have any unit type specified to anchor it to what that 100% AMI annual amount is. So
I think
that
that we
was,
could get in trouble first if we start saying, you know, you come to rent from us and we say, we're only gonna rent you a one-bedroom or we're only gonna rent you a two-bedroom, that's steering,
Right.
which is discrimination under the Fair Housing Act. So we can't say, we have to show you all the units and let you decide what you want to have. And we do have standards, you can't have 10 people in a one-bedroom unit. We have standards in our leases for that. But we're not able to say, you know, Mr. English, you come to us and you're only gonna get a one-bedroom today. Even though you want a two, and you can afford a two, we're gonna give you a one, and you're gonna put you over here by the dog lot. That's discrimination.
I'll pull some information on where that's happened in the past, and then maybe it can help guide how that piece of this moves forward.
Okay.
Okay, and Mike, anything to finish up here?
No, I think we've covered it. I think that, I might just add that the reality, and I think Councilman Miller brought up a good point, that how do we know that Mr. Douglas or any developer is going to do what they say they're going to do? And I would suggest you can look at the track record. I think Mr. Douglas and his family are unique, or maybe not unique, but they're not people who build things and sell them. They build things and keep them. His daughter is here tonight, and Mason is involved in the business, I know that, and so they're in for the long run, and so they're going to do something nice because, and it's going to be rented. So I would say there's a level of trust that we could maybe extend that maybe wouldn't exist on other apartments and other owners, other people that come in.
And
Okay.
Mike, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to close and say, if I hadn't said the counterpoints, the other side of what potentially could happen, just because of what, you know, my experience has been, I wouldn't be being fair to my position and what I'm doing. And I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I hope there is a level of trust that what we see is what we get, and that you've stepped up for additional local worker housing, because it's really, really important, and it's going to get more and more so.
Well, thank you for hearing
Well,
me.
Thank you. And I think, and maybe we'll get into more discussion, but I think it's appropriate time for a motion.
Yeah, I was looking at this, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and it looks like I have to read a long findings and conclusion, and I'm not sure what that is.
I'm prepared to.
Yeah, but,
Oh,
prepared.
well,
oh, good.
and
Amy's
Amy is
prepared.
good to go.
I'm
Okay.
prepared with the help of my
Thank
team
you.
member Randy. So let me give it a shot and bear with me because these can be long. I'd like to make a motion to approve ZC 322, changing the zoning of property located 3404 West Celtice Way. Applicant Rivers Edge Apartments LLC, based on the following findings and conclusions. This matter having come before the City Council on September 17th, 2024, and there being present a person requesting approval of ZC 322, a request for a zone change from R12 and C17 to R17. Again, the applicant is Rivers Edge Apartments LLC. Location is 3528 and 3404 West Celtice Way. I would adopt the findings of fact A1 through A15. Conclusions of law based on the foregoing.
Just one moment, you should probably say that those findings have been established, if that's your opinion.
Oh.
Established by the testimony and by the record.
That is my opinion. So I would like to adopt A1 through A15, having been established on a more probable than not basis as shown on the record and before it and on the testimony presented at the public hearing. Conclusions of law. Based on the foregoing findings of fact, the City Council makes the following conclusions of law. B1, this proposal is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. B2, public facilities and utilities are available and adequate for the proposed use. B3, the physical characteristics of the site do make it suitable for the request. B4, the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. C, the City Council pursuant to the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law has determined that the requested zone change does comply with the required evaluation criteria and the zone change request is approved. The City Council further orders that the zone change shall be contingent on the owner of the property signing a development agreement as approved by council. Outlined here are 28 conditions for this zone change request. Do I need to read all 28?
No, I would, though the motion should be approved with conditions, not just approved.
Okay, the motion should be approved with conditions, thank you. And this includes the 28 conditions that are outlined in our report. But I would like to note that condition 24 will be modified and at least, modified from 5% to 10%, so at least 10% of the proposed 296 new units, meaning no fewer than 30 units, shall be designated for Kootenai County's area median income AMI population.
Second. Is that it?
And have a second, okay, okay. Now, any other discussions, okay?
Thank you, Mayor PT. I'm going to disagree with this because it was mentioned in one of the papers I wrote on. We always talk about opportunity, and it's very rare that opportunity, especially when government uses that word, very rare that opportunity doesn't come without risk. And we also talked about the future, doing things for the future. One of those things is making traffic on Saltese a hell. I disagree with the motion because I believe the proposal B2, the public facilities and utilities are not available and adequate with regards to traffic, and B4, the proposal would adversely affect surrounding neighborhoods with regards to traffic. If the developer was willing to improve the intersection there, that would change my mind, but it's going to be a burden upon the citizens of Coeur d'Alene through our taxes to have to pay for widening of Saltese and adding an intersection there in the future. So that would be why I'd propose it. Otherwise, you know, it's a great project. The developer does really good work. I like what was done, but I have to consider everything, and when I consider everything, traffic is a big issue, and it will be. We, you know, right now, we don't have those 5,000 homes at Cortair impacting traffic here, and we will. So I just got to look down the road and say, yeah, opportunity, but there's a risk, and that would be why I oppose this. Thank you, Mayor PT.
Okay, so we've had our discussions, and I think we will then, at a motion and a second, so would you call the roll?
Gookin,
No.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
So we are tied.
It is a tie vote. The Mayor Pro Tem can vote on this.
Okay, then in this case, I will give, because I always try to give a explanation of my vote, and so, and I drive through there multiple times a day, live in Coeur d'Alene Place and going there, and for me anyway, the roundabout at, you know, at Atlas and going up actually is functioning well at this point, and so I don't know if talking about another one further down, but I think that's something we can deal with. Also, one of the real needs that we have in the community is for, housing units and affordable housing units, and through this process tonight, which I appreciate the interaction and interchange, we ended up, that the developer in real time agreed to double that, and given that, I'm going to vote for the approval. And so does that,
Well, we go on now. There has to be approval of Council Bill 24-1016 with a motion to dispense with the rule and then adopt that council bill.
I'll make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 24-1017 once by title only.
Should be 1-6, correct?
It says 17 on here.
It does
That's what
say
I have,
17.
I think the actual council bill is 1016.
oh, 1016, okay.
Okay, making a note to
Correct
change.
it to 1016?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's correct up here, it's just wrong down here.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
I seconded her motion.
So we had a second, and this is to dispense and read once by title only. Go ahead.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Sorry, are we dispensing with the rule?
Yes.
Yes.
Gukin.
Yeah.
And
Council
read the
Bill
title, please.
24-1016, an ordinance amending the zoning act of the city of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, known as ordinance number 1691, ordinances of the city of Coeur d'Alene, by changing the zoning of the following described property from R12, residential at 12 units per acre, and C17, commercial at 17 units per acre, to R17 residential at 17 units per acre, and placing certain conditions upon the property as shown in Exhibit E to the development agreement, resolution number 24-075, said property being described as follows, to wit, A plus minus 20.59 acres at 3404 West Celtis Way, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, commonly known as River's Edge Apartments, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, provide for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and effective date hereof.
I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill 24-1016.
Second.
And any other discussion or call for the vote? Okay.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
Gukin,
No.
So I will vote again, and I will vote in the affirmative and vote yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-075, approving the development agreement for ZC2-22. Do I need to direct staff to provide a revised agreement with our agreed-upon percentage change of item 24?
Second.
It's not item 24, it's paragraph 7.4, and condition 24.
Thank you.
And I second her motion.
Okay. And now any other discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
Gukin,
No.
And I vote yes again. And, okay, and now I am going to, for the benefit of folks, I'm going to declare a, let's see, 8:15, so a 7-minute recess until 8:22. Recess, okay. I've been waiting.
That was very
holy
aggressive.
Back to the Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting, and we have a quasi-judicial hearing about Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy, and we don't have anybody signed up to testify, but I would just remind the council that, in the previous hearing, we asked if you had anything to disclose as far as contacts on this, so therefore I would ask if any council member has received or exchanged information related to the Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy annexation request that is not included in the council packet. If so, please disclose that information now so the applicant and the public have full knowledge of what you possess. Is there nothing to disclose? So now I think, Mike, do you have a report to give us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, council. All right. This is the public hearing for item A-1-24. The owners are Sean and Brene Lutine, and they're represented by MacArthur Engineering. The applicant is requesting annexation of 5.1 acres in conjunction with zoning approval from county commercial to C-17 commercial zoning district on property that is located at 3505 West Celtice Way. Legal notice was published in the Coeur d'Alene Press on August 31st, 2024, and all other required notifications have been made. There's a location map indicating where this property is located. This is Celtice Way. This is Atlas Road. And the city limits are around here, and this is a hole in the city, and you can see this green area right here is county property. Here's a close-up aerial photograph of the property, highlighted in red. To the north is the Frontier Ice Arena. Here's a bird's eye view looking north. And the property is located in the city's ACI. The applicant has submitted a survey indicating the exact area that is to be annexed. And the zoning map illustrates the existing zoning. It's currently county commercial. To the north is C-17. To the west is also C-17 with some county commercial located here. To the south is C-17 PUDs and C-17L PUD, and to the east is county commercial. The C-17 district is intended as a broad-based spectrum commercial district that permits limited service, wholesale retail, heavy commercial, in addition to allowing residential development at a density of 17 units per acre. Here's a list of some of the principal uses that are permitted in the C-17 district, such as automobile sales, commercial recreation, department stores, and community education. The full list of commercial uses on page 5 of the staff report. There are 4 findings that need to be met in order for an annexation to be approved. Finding B1 through B4, and we'll go through each one of these, starting with B1. That this proposal is or is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan indicates this and envisioned this to be in the general industrial place type. Place types represent the form of future development as envisioned by residents of this Coeur d'Alene. Place types will be, in turn, provide the policy level guidance that will inform the city's development ordinance. And at the time the comprehensive plan was developed in 2020 through 2022, this place was envisioned to be an industrial area. But since that time, the Celtice corridor has been commercial and residential. So there's to the north where the Frontier came in annexation in 2021 with C-17 zoning. So the appropriate zoning for this would be commercial. These next 2 slides represent comprehensive plan goals and objectives as it relates to this annexation request. The first goal is under community identity, and the goal is to maintain a high quality of life for residents and businesses that make Coeur d'Alene a great place to live and visit. The objective would be to maintain the community's friendly, welcoming atmosphere and its small town feel. The next goal is under education and learning. The goal is to provide an educational environment that provides open access to resources for all people. And the objective would be to provide abundant opportunities for and access to long life learning, fostering mastery of new skills, academic enrichment, mentoring programs, and personal growth. The next finding is finding B2, that the public facilities and utilities are or are not available and adequate for the proposed use. City staff from streets and engineering, water, fire, parks, police, and wastewater departments have reviewed the application request in regards to public utilities and public facilities. And each department has indicated that there are adequate public facilities and public utilities available for the proposed annexation with zoning to C-17. The next finding is finding B3, that the physical characteristics of the site do or do not make it suitable for the request at this time. The site is generally flat, that slightly slopes to the southwest. There's an approximate 25-foot drop in elevation on the subject site. The western portion of the site is vacant and is relatively flat to accommodate a future development site for the Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy. Here's a topographical map indicating the topography. These are 5-foot contours. See, it slopes to the southwest. This is the proposed development area that the Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy is proposing to build on. These next slides are site photos. This is on Celtice looking southwest. This is on the center of the property looking north. This is on the northwest part of the property looking south. This is on the center of the property looking east. This is on the north property looking south. And this is on the eastern portion looking southwest. The last finding is finding B4, that the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. The city engineer has indicated that the subject property is bordered by Celtice Way to the south, which is a principal arterial street. The city engineer has given 2 examples on the traffic. The first one is in regards to the skating rink, which will generate approximately 63 evening peak hour trips, and the private school will generate approximately 95 morning peak hour trips. The applicant has submitted a concept plan indicating how they want to develop the property. They do a proposed expansion at this. So this is the existing facility. This is Celtice. Here's a land use map indicating the surrounding land uses. To the north is commercial with the Frontier Ice Arena, multifamily to the west, along with a single-family dwelling. To the south, we have medical, commercial uses, and this is the apartment complex that is under construction, and some 2 large agriculture tracts to the east. There are 7 recommended items to include in the annexation agreement, and this morning the applicant called and would like to make an amendment to number 1, called staff, and indicated that they would like to do existing work in the existing facilities to bring them up to code with the building department, and they wanted to make sure they can do that immediately and not wait for the existing manufacturing use to be removed. So we added the language that's highlighted in yellow. I'll read this condition. It was the existing industrial milling operation must be removed from the site prior to a building permit or site development permit is issued for the new building, whichever come first. And this will allow them to do existing work in the existing facility prior to them getting a building permit for the new structure. But before the new structure is built, the milling operation will be removed.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And the applicant can explain a little more about that when they give their presentation. So you'll need to consider this request for annexation and C-17 zoning and make findings to approve, deny, or deny without prejudice. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, question, Dan?
Yes, question for you, Mike, and I don't know if you can answer this. Don't you love that when I say that? What is the difference between our commercial zone and county commercial, which is the current zoning? Is there anything that's, I mean, I don't know the specifics, but
I don't know the
speaking,
specifics on their zoning compared to ours, but the main issue is they're gonna have city sewer and water and city sewer services. Right now, they're on well and septic, and they probably couldn't expand very much with the existing utilities and services that they have.
But as far as underlying usages for their zone and ours.
I don't know them compared, what the similar areas or the differences between the two.
So I'm just going to assume that it's safe to say that they're probably very similar, that county
Right,
commercial.
I would say that.
With the restriction, of course, that if they don't have access to sewer and water, and the county, it does kind of limit what they can do
Right.
on there. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Just a quick question. Mike, is that agricultural land to the east, is that in the city?
That is not.
Okay.
It's in the county.
I always wondered if they would want to annex someday. Thanks.
Are there, okay, the applicant, yes. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Scott MacArthur, MacArthur Engineering. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Not much to say. It's hard to follow. City staff, they prepared a well-written report. We did call this morning to discuss recommendation number 1 for the annexation agreement because we're trying to be sympathetic to the existing operation, industrial operation that does operate out of the southern part of the building. And we want to give them time to relocate. And so, but at the same time, we do have a school that we are operating in this facility. We have 58 students that attend that academy. And there are improvements that we can make while they're in school that'll be in conformance. We've been working with the building department proactively at this time, and we want to continue to do that. So we don't want to hold up a small electrical permit or something while we wait to move the manufacturing facility off the site. Other than that, the recommendations are pretty straightforward. We have had the fire system completely inspected and approved, so that recommendation number 7 is already completed. Again, we are trying to be proactive. My clients are excited to bring this new building into compliance. It's crazy to see this structure from what it was when I was a child here to go-kart family fun when I worked there at the age of 14. Don't tell anybody. Yeah, I'm excited for what they plan to do with the site and their hopes to expand this academy. So I'll stand for any questions.
I just have, so maybe that helps with locating in my mind, but do you happen to know where the old, like, YJ stockyard was?
YJ's to the, yeah, right there.
Okay, okay,
To
that's
the-
what I
to the
pictured.
east.
Okay, yep. They've got good bones there. So I guess now we would, unless you have anything else, then we'll have a closing opportunity if you'd like. And I would open the public hearing portion. But again, there's nobody signed up for public testimony, and unless somebody else jumps up, then I will close the public hearing portion and open, I guess, for discussions or motions or whatever. So,
Mr. Mayor Pro
Yes.
Tem, I think this property is one that we've always envisioned would come into the city at some point in time. Planning and zoning reviewed everything, their complete agreement that they've met all the conditions, so I don't have an issue with this annexation.
I don't have nearly as many questions.
oh, but you have some, okay, yes. Keep
And I don't know who to ask the question of. Or is it just, I was trying to find where the traffic flow, if there was anything done with that, because I think Celtice goes out, so you can only make a right turn right there.
Correct. There is a crossover street, and I think I can, this mouse can show up.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest reopening the public hearing because it is testimony apparently that will.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll do that. And did we swear you in?
I swear.
Well, then
I'm
would
just-
you
I'm
please,
just-
would you swear in the, we have one for testimony. Okay.
Please respond by saying I affirm. Do you solemnly swear nor affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you can ask the question again and.
So I'm back on traffic, and this isn't very far away from, where we just talked about, and this is 2 lanes going one direction and 2 lanes coming back. So if there's going to be a school with day and evening heavy traffic, has there been any conversation regarding what's that going to look like for the people who are going this way and trying to turn around to come back towards Coeur d'Alene?
So the traffic in this particular area, they have westbound traffic. When you exit the site, and when you enter the site, you're heading westbound. There's not an opportunity to access the site. You have to utilize the roundabout at Atlas and come back to the site if you're driving east. To travel west, you'll have to use the roundabout at Mill to travel back to the east.
But there isn't anything prohibiting somebody from popping out of there and using that little single lane jump down to the lower
No.
way to turn left. So that will probably get used that way.
It could potentially, it's very difficult to maneuver that, but it's a possibility. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Currently, the ice arena operates to the north, and that our students in this facility are typically walking to the side or are transported to the site. There's not a lot of students. We do have some international students, and a lot of students are on campus and/or walk, to your convenience store at Atlas or in the area to the Atlas Park, and then they live off campus at in homes that are reserved for their residents.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions or discussion? And
Close
I
that.
guess unless, do you, Mike, or anybody have any final? So,
Thank you.
good promotion, you look,
Okay,
you're
I
our
will-
person, okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor Pro
Oh,
Tem,
yes, yeah.
close again, close the hearing again.
Close the hearing, yes,
we
because
go.
we did swear one in, so close the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Yep.
I will make a motion to approve without prejudice A1-24 annexation of plus or minus 5.096 acre annexation from county commercial to C-17 for property located at 3505 West Saltese Avenue, and to develop the necessary findings in order.
Second, oh, sorry.
I wish.
I'll let you do your findings.
All right, this matter came before the City Council on September 17th, 2024, to consider A1-24, a request to annex 5.1 acres adjacent to Celtice Way with C-17 zoning. The applicant is MacArthur Engineering, Scott MacArthur, sorry, I'm getting tired, agent of Sean and Renee Luton, butchering names tonight. Location is 3505 West Celtice Way, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, 83814, excuse me. The City Council finds that the following facts, A1 through A12, have been established on a more probable than not basis, as shown on record before and on testimony presented at the public hearing. Conclusions of law. Based on the foregoing findings of fact, the City Council makes the following conclusions of law. B1, that this proposal is in conformance with the comprehensive plan policy. B2, that public facilities and utilities are available and adequate for the proposed use. B3, that the physical characteristics of the site do make it suitable for the request at this time. B4, that the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and existing land uses. The City Council, pursuant to the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, has determined that the request for annexation of a plus or minus 5.1 acre parcel in Kootenai County, assigning the zoning district C-17, should be approved with conditions, Randy? Do I add with conditions?
Yes, you can do that.
Be approved with conditions. Outlined here are the City Council further orders that the annexation shall be contingent on the owners of the property signing an annexation agreement as approved by council. And I move that we adopt the recommended conditions 1 through 7, but 1 needs to be amended
For the new building. right?
for the new building to remain in operation before, can you help me with that wording, Randy?
Prior to the building permit or site development permit is issued for the new building.
For the new building. Thank you. And that is it.
Second.
Now a second, okay. Discussion, yes.
Thank you, Mayor PT. Amy, you know, you're going to be doing all of these from
She
now on.
is,
Oh.
she is.
'Cause
I
this
agree
is-
with that.
It's homework.
Designated reader, yes.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say that, so to me, this is kind of just moving something from the county into the city. There's no real, we're not increasing density, it's the same zone, which I think it's the same underlying use, it's already there. It's established, it's what they want to do, it fits into what we want, and it's a thriving business, so happy to support it.
And I agree with that. I see no reason for the annexation. I do think there's going to be some signage that's going to happen out on Celtice. But Chris Bosley's not asleep back there, so he'll take care of that, right?
Yes. And and what is the
Roll call.
next then? Okay, so roll call for that one.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Gookin?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 24-1017 once by title only.
Second.
An ordinance annexing to and declaring to be a part of the city of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, specifically describe portions of Section 4, Township 50, and Range 4W, Boise Meridian, zoning such specifically described property hereby annexed as C-17, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and an effective date hereof.
Roll call.
We have a motion and we have a second. I think we jumped to the,
Well, now we need a motion to adopt the council
Okay.
bill.
oh, did we vote on that last one?
We just voted on the dispensing of the rule.
Right.
Okay.
I
And
didn't
we
have
did-
the roll call,
Yes,
sorry.
that's right. Okay, so,
Okay,
on the
so
next
I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill 24-1017.
Second.
and now, any other discussion? Roll call.
Miller?
Aye.
Gookin?
Yep.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-076, approving the annexation and development agreement for A124. And to
Excuse
ask,
me, that should be corrected. It should just be an annexation agreement, not a development agreement.
okay, let me start over. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-076, approving the annexation agreement and requesting that staff revise condition 1.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion? Then roll call, please.
Gookin?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And before we do that, I do appreciate on this thing that we just approved, being put on the city sewer and water is a good thing. So, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, adjourned. Okay.